Hi there, welcome to another breathtaking episode of Centurions, where all we feature are man-made things that have lasted over 100 years. This episode will feature the Colosseum. The Colosseum is an elliptical amphitheater in the center of the city of Rome, Italy, just east of the Roman Forum. It is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built and is still the largest standing amphitheater in the world, despite its age. Construction began under the Emperor Vespasian, who reigned from 69 to 79 AD, and was completed in 80 AD under his successor and heir, Titus. Further modifications were made during the reign of Domitian, who reigned from 81 to 96 AD. The three emperors who were patrons of the work are known as the Flavian dynasty by archaeologists for its association with their family name Flavius. The Colosseum is built of travertine limestone, tuff, which is volcanic rock, and brick-faced concrete. It could hold an estimated 50,000 to 80,000 spectators at various points in its history, having an average audience of 65,000. It was used for gladiatorial contests and public spectacles, including animal hunts, executions, reenactments of famous battles, and dramas based on Roman mythology, and briefly mock sea battles. The building ceased to be used for entertainment in the early medieval era. It was later reused for such purposes as housing, workshops, quarters for a religious order, a fortress, a quarry, and a Christian shrine. Although substantially ruined by earthquakes and stone robbers, the Colosseum is still a renowned symbol of Imperial Rome and was listed as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It is one of Rome's most popular tourist attractions and also has links to the Roman Catholic Church, as each Good Friday, the Pope leads a torch-lit Way of the Cross procession that starts in the area around the Colosseum. The Colosseum is depicted on the Italian version of the 5-cent euro coin. The name Colosseum is believed to be derived from a colossal statue of Nero on the model of the Colossus of Rhodes. The giant bronze sculpture of Nero as a solar deity was moved to its position beside the amphitheater by the Emperor Hadrian. Colosseum is formed from the adjective Colossus, meaning gigantic or Colossian. After Nero's suicide and the civil wars of the Year of the 4 Emperors, the Colossus of Nero statue was remodeled by the condemned emperor's successors into his likeness of Helios, the sun god, by adding the appropriate solar crown. It was then commonly referred to as the Colossus Solis. Nero's head was also replaced several times with the heads of the succeeding emperors. Despite its pagan links, the statue remained standing well into the medieval era and was credited with magical powers. The Emperor Constantine the Great remodeled the statue's face as his own. The site chosen was a flat area on the floor of a low valley between the Cælian, Esquiline, and Palatine hills, through which a canalized stream ran as well as an artificial lake. By the 2nd century BC, the area was densely inhabited. It was devastated by the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, following which Nero seized most of the area to add to his personal domain. He built the grandiose Domus Aurea on the site in front of which he created an artificial lake surrounded by pavilions, gardens, and porticos. The existing Aqua Claudia aqueduct was extended to supply water to the area and the gigantic bronze Colossus of Nero. Vespasian's decision to build the Colosseum on the site of Nero's lake can be seen as a populist gesture of returning to the people an area of the city which Nero had appropriated for his own use. In contrast to many other amphitheaters, which were on the outskirts of a city, the Colosseum was constructed in the city center, in effect placing it both symbolically and precisely at the heart of Rome. Construction was funded by the opulent spoils taken from the Jewish temple after the First Jewish-Roman War in 70 AD led to the siege of Jerusalem. According to a reconstructed inscription found on the site, the Emperor Vespasian ordered this new amphitheater to be erected from his general share of the spoils. It is often assumed that Jewish prisoners of war were brought back to Rome and contributed to the massive workforce needed for the construction of the amphitheater, but there is no evidence to that effect. Construction of the Colosseum began under the rule of Vespasian in around 70 to 72 AD. The Colosseum had been completed up to the third story by the time of Vespasian's death in 79 AD. The top level was finished by his son, Titus, in 80 AD, and the inaugural games were held in 81 AD. Dio Cassius recounts that over 9,000 wild animals were killed during the inaugural games of the amphitheater. The building was remodeled further under Vespasian's younger son, the newly designated Emperor Domitian, who constructed the Hypogeum, a series of tunnels used to house animals and slaves. In 217 AD, the Colosseum was badly damaged by fire, which destroyed the wooden upper levels of the amphitheater's interior. It was not fully repaired until about 240 AD. Honorius banned the practice of gladiator fights in 399 AD and again in 404 AD. Gladiatorial fights were last mentioned around 435 AD. An inscription records the restoration of various parts of the Colosseum. Under Theodosius II and Valentinian III, who reigned from 425 to 455 AD. Possibly to repair damage caused by a major earthquake in 443 AD. Animal hunts continued until at least 523 AD, when Anicius Maximus celebrated his consulship with some Venetians criticized by King Theodoric the Great for their high cost. The Colosseum underwent several radical changes of use. By the late 6th century, a small chapel had been built into the structure of the amphitheater, though this apparently did not confer any particular religious significance on the building as a whole. The arena was converted into a cemetery. The numerous vaulted spaces in the arcades under the seating were converted into housing and workshops and are recorded as still being rented out as late as the 12th century. Around the 12th century, the Frigipani family took over the Colosseum and forfeited it, apparently using it as a castle. In the early to mid-14th century, the Pope's relocation to Avignon caused a population decline in Rome that left the region insecure. The Colosseum was largely abandoned by the public and became a popular den for bandits. Several damage was inflicted on the Colosseum by the Great Earthquake in 1349, causing the outer south side, lying on a less stable alluvial terrain, to collapse. Much of the tumbled stone was reused to build palaces, churches, hospitals, and other buildings elsewhere in Rome. In 1377, after the Pope's return to Rome, the Colosseum was restored by a religious order called Archiconfraternita de Salvatore ad Sancta Sanctorum, who then inhabited a northern portion of it until as late as the early 19th century. The interior of the amphitheater was extensively stripped of stone, which was reused elsewhere or was burned to make quicklime. During the 16th and 17th century, church officials sought a productive role for the Colosseum. Pope Sixtus V, who was the Pope of Rome from 1585 to 1590, planned to turn the building into a wool factory to provide employment for Rome's prostitutes, though this proposal fell through with his premature death in 1671. Cardinal Altieri authorized its use for bullfights. A public outcry caused the idea to be hastily abandoned. In 1749, Pope Benedict XIV endorsed the view that the Colosseum was a sacred site where early Christians had been martyred. He forbade the use of the Colosseum as a quarry and consecrated the building to the Passion of the Christ and installed Stations of the Cross, declaring it sanctified by the blood of the Christian martyrs who perished there. However, there is no historical evidence to support Benedict's claim, nor is there even any evidence that anyone before the 16th century suggested this might be the case. Later popes initiated various stabilization and restoration projects, removing the extensive vegetation which had overgrown the structure and threatened to damage it further. The facade was reinforced with triangular brick wedges in 1807 and 1827, and the interior was repaired in 1831, 1846, and in the 1930s. The arena substructure was partly excavated in 1810 to 1814 and in 1874 and was fully exposed under Benito Mussolini in the 1930s. The Colosseum is today one of Rome's most popular tourist attractions, receiving millions of visitors annually. The effects of pollution and general deterioration over time prompted a major restoration program carried out between 1993 and 2000 at the cost of $19.3 million. In recent times, the Colosseum has become a symbol of the international campaign against capital punishment, which was abolished in Italy in 1948. This is where we draw the curtain on this first installment of the Colosseum, Part 1. Stay tuned for Part 2 of the Colosseum episode on Centurions next time. My name is Dimitri. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.